We've been doing this thing called Mindset Mondays, Justin and I, for a while. I think we're up to like almost 50 episodes or whatnot. But again, what we do every Monday is we come in, we just, kind of do a powwow on that podcast room back there. And we talk about stuff that hits us as entrepreneurs, right? Crazy thing is that we never have a curriculum. We don't have like this book that we're following. We literally show up in the morning and it's like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, no, like really, what's wrong with you? Like, where are you off? Where's your mindset, kind of taking you in a different direction, right? And we'll start talking about that kind of stuff, and that's what the episodes turn into. So what I wanted to do here today was bring that and then make this a you guys session, right? We have a lot of experience when it comes to working on the self, right? Operating from a space of truth, finding the genuineness and the authenticity within us, right? And we've been working on that stuff, I don't know, for the last 15 years or so. The personal growth journey has been really, really interesting for us. And I think we started doing a little bit of background about us is we started doing this small master. I have a fly around there. Does it stink? Yeah. No, but we started doing this little mastermind, and I say little because it was only 5 people, right? So we started getting together. We would go, and we thought it was going to be a real estate mastermind, and we're going to talk about strategies on how to get listings and help buyers. And remember that? Yeah. So it was like, okay, where do we meet? Let's go to Mimi's Cafe, like weird place for 5 guys to just hang out, right? But Mimi's Cafe every Thursday or every other Thursday we started. It's 7 in the morning. We're like the first ones in. And then first week, it was like everybody got to know each other. We have a mutual friend, and his name Jason. He's kind of like the guy that brought us all together and wanted to do something, right? So it's like we started hanging out, and that first meeting was, we talked about the real estate stuff, right? All of us were licensed. Were any of us brokers at the time?
Technically, but
we weren't operating as we didn't have the brokerage. Yeah. So we had that in place. Like, oh, how's your business going? And it was like, it was a good talk. But we ended up just kind of swaying from the conversation and having a fun conversation, right? And then just kind of making fun of the rest of the guys. So we clicked real well on that first meeting. We didn't talk anything when it came to real in terms of real estate. Maybe the first 5-15 minutes. But we didn't dive deep. And then I was like, oh, we got to do this again. Now we're hyped, right? We had a couple of mimosas, and then we leave. We come back 2 weeks later, and one of the guys was off. And it was like, dude, what's going on? Like you were not like this last time. We all talked. And what happens? Like everybody leans in. I was like, yeah, what is going on? And now we started drilling into each other, like, where's your mindset at? And then somebody said, mindset, game over. From that point forward, like all the conversations really became about, the truth within us, right? Are we operating from a space of creativity or a space of victimhood? Where are we? And a lot of times, like that kind of context can be heavy, right? But I think those are the first questions that we should be asking ourselves on a daily basis. Right? How am I showing up as a human being? How am I showing up as an individual? The funny thing is that a couple of years before then, I'd taken some leadership courses, some leadership trainings, which I actually took with this guy right here. And that's kind of how the personal growth journey started to get solidified for me. Right? These guys, the only difference was that I took them in Spanish, different organization. These guys took the same trainings in English, right? So their training was PSI, and they would just bully me and say that mine were called C, like in Spanish. Anyways, but that was funny.
Inside joke.
Yeah, inside joke.
It's
yeah,
so funny yeah.
Anyways,
feel flat.
I do that all the time.
I know.
Like, why are they not laughing? It's hilarious. But it's it just everything kind of connected, right? And the personal growth journey really got stepped up to the next level. And I remember walking in with all kinds of plans and just haziness in my head as to how all the pieces connected. Like, this shit makes sense in my head. It's gonna be CEO Pulse. And I was like drafting the idea in my head. I don't know what it looked like. You know, how many businesses do you have? Like, they would ask me, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we have, like, we go off on tangents, shiny objects. Like, shit, that looks great. And I think at one point I had like 9 different businesses.
10.
And none of them were operating.
10.
Like they were, yeah, 10 to be exact. You were, you know, thinking about the brokerage. Like, you were talking to just, you know, and now he's down to 150 agents by design, right? So he owns a pretty big brokerage here in town. He's been you know, super successful in it. At the core of the whole thing is that mindset, is that self-awareness of where we are in the journey as human beings, right? Everything else that we have around us is nuts and bolts. Right, the strategy, the how we go about things, right?
The mechanism.
Yeah, the mechanism. It's nuts and bolts. You can learn that, you know, and somebody can teach us the pragmatic side, the 1, 2, 3, you know, linear flow that we always talk about, that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, nobody's gonna know you like you, right? And having that deeper sense of awareness is I think it's key. It's the game changer. That's a long introduction for the Mindset Monday on a Wednesday episode that we're recording today. But I just wanted you guys to really understand where we're coming from when it comes to that mindset space. It's very important, if not the most important thing that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, and because not paying attention to the mindset, which really what we mean by that is like your belief systems. You know, who you think you are, how you think the world operates, your self-image, what you think you're worthy of, capable of. And without that, you probably know some people that entrepreneurs, maybe they were successful in business and whatever their endeavor was, but then after a few years they realized this isn't my lane at all. This isn't what I want to be doing. I started this just to earn money. And because business takes effort, yeah, and you sacrifice, you're taking from other facets of your life to invest in that business that you were only doing for money, like whether you hit success or not, you're going to realize you just wasted a big portion of your life. And for what? The sacrifice of other facets of your life? So, and I'm just speaking from experience, right? Yeah. So,
it's easy to get caught in that survival state, right? And forget about the real meaning of why we do things in the first place. And everybody's in a different stage in their journey of personal growth. You know, some people haven't even tapped into it yet. Some people are like at the doorway and they're just peeking inside, and then this whole world looks like it's, I mean, like a whole different world, because it is, right? And it can be somewhat scary to own up to ourselves, to be truthful with ourselves, to have the resiliency, especially when we're getting rejected, right, by people out there. When people are seeing what we're doing as entrepreneurs, not even as wholesalers, as entrepreneurs, and judging, right? Like, no, that is crazy, or you know, think about it this way, right? A lot of times we tend to be a mirror for somebody else. If somebody, you know, doesn't have belief in themselves, they'll point out, you know, certain things in other people, and make us feel, you know, in doubt, right? But at the end of the day, like, do we have ownership of who we are? Do we understand? Like, do we even know who we are? Like, what are our priorities, right? How do we stay centered when we get hit by challenges? You know, that's the kind of stuff that we want to cover here. And really, again, we want to make this your mindset, you know, session, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, each and every single one of you are the student, the teacher, and the material. So instead of us just sitting up here blabbing away, like, we want to make it land and of value to you. So we'll ask some questions for you to out yourself, if you will, if you have the courage to do so, because only then can you have the awareness of what can I shift about me in such a way that unlocks my potential.
So with that being said, who's going to open it up? We go through hardship, we go through rejection, we go through confusion. All of that stuff creates weight in our mind, right? Who wants to open it up and tell us what the biggest internal challenge or internal struggle, mindset challenge or mindset struggle is for you guys?
Yeah, so not like the nuts and bolts, the pragmatic part about what action do I take in my business, but most importantly, like, what are you not doing, or what are you avoiding or deflecting? You know, we like to call it procrastination. Anybody in here a procrastinator? Yeah, you're not. It's a nice, fluffy bullshit word. Really what you're saying is there's something uncomfortable and I don't want to move into action. So I avoid it, I deflect, and I find myself doing something else that's not important. And then I've wasted my day and I didn't do that one thing that would have generated me some revenue. Do you ever sit and ask yourself why? So what I'm looking for is really like, what's the story you tell yourself?
Yeah.
So you'll know it's your turn because you'll be speaking.
I mean, we either get a volunteer or we start picking victims.
So I keep telling myself I got to get it done, like the other things.
Yeah.
Like I keep running into that where, I know I got to make my telephone calls, but I know that I got to go and get that hot tub out of the backyard of that other house. And so I go and do that first, and then I end up not making my calls.
Creative avoidance.
Well,
It's
not
really
only
what's
that,
happening, yeah.
I mean, if you take a look at just those two activities, make my calls or go take care of that hot tub, like which one generates revenue?
The calls.
Okay, and so which one's safe? Meaning I'm not going to get rejected, I'm not going to feel internal pain, which isn't true, it's just suffering.
Yeah, the hot tub.
The hot tub.
Yeah.
So it's safe, convenient, easy. I know I'm going to be successful with it, yeah? But at the end of the day, then you beat the shit out of yourself for not getting the priority handled.
That happened yesterday.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, and you're the only one in here that experiences that.
Yeah, nobody else does.
Yeah. So what we're talking about when we say mindset is really just that level of self-awareness. Like, are you honest with yourself? Are you aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it? Because if not, you have no awareness, you have no power to change it. Yet, if you can be honest with yourself, which some people have a hard time with because it stings your ego, However, it begs the question, who's running the show?
Before, and I know we have a couple of hands raised. One of the things that I want to throw out there and make a highlight of is the ego, right? The ego is not necessarily it's not good or it's not bad. I mean, sometimes we tend to stigmatize it, and ego is it's a bad thing. Sometimes ego is going to get us to do shit that we normally wouldn't do, right? So you channel it, you use it as a good thing. But it can also be detrimental on the other side. A lot of times the trick comes, I think, or the challenge becomes being non-biased to that ego and being a spectator. We actually talked about this on the podcast. Being the spectator of the situation as opposed to letting our ego drive our just reactions, because they're not even responses. A lot of times we get fired up or we start procrastinating, and they're just reactions without any secondary thought to them, just because it triggers, right, the ego response in it. So one of the things to kind of keep in mind or work on for me, what was taming that ego. And I can't say I tamed it, right? Now I recognize it. I almost feel crazy when I'm standing there and thinking, and I feel like I'm talking to my ego, because now it's there's a clinical term for that kind of stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but
psychotic.
Yeah. But no, it becomes this tool, right? We have the ability to steer that reactionary self in productive ways, or let it just push us down and then keep procrastinating, keep being the victim of whatever environment we're in, if that makes sense. You had your voice.
So I was actually researching into something that's pretty similar along the lines of kind of what you guys are leading into. Have you guys ever heard of the term called, I actually have notes on it, integrating your shadow?
Mm-hmm. You want to learn more about that? Is that what you're asking, or?
Well, is that kind of what the topic is? Is that kind of
I mean, that's a facet of it, yeah, because it's really just coming to know yourself, truly. Because we all have parts of us that, trauma from childhood, because trauma is not what happened to you, it's not the event, it's what you internalized about it, right? So with that definition, we all have something, whether that was your first time playing a sport, and mom or dad or uncle or brother or sister, whatever, somebody told you sucked really bad and you should never play, and you made up a story about you, right? So, and now it's playing out in your adult life. Yeah, exactly, yeah, because your beliefs that you formed from a very young age. Actually, Harvard did a study on this, and they wrote a book, a gentleman did. It's called Brilliant Babies, Powerful Adults, something like that. And what they discovered in a tremendous amount of research is that by the time a child is 8 years old, 80%.
I think they call it the theta phase, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, because as a child, you're building mental faculties and consciousness, but you've got to have information as points of reference in order to create those mental faculties. So that time that elapses from birth to then, like over 80% of your belief systems are already installed by the time you're 8 years old. And so the question becomes, like, what have you done to update those? Like this iPhone, I swear to God, I don't know how many times a week this thing dings that there's an iOS update. Yeah? Why? To improve the functionality, the interface, to have a better experience. So when's the last time you updated your operating system? Because most people are just older children.
Yeah.
And that does require a great sense of awareness. And like Rafael was saying that, there's kind of two ways you can look at, what we're talking about here. And the dark shadow is it's like that fear, the insecurity of that identity, that you created for yourself.
Totally.
And, you could either, use it in a constructive manner, to better yourself, or you can use it in a deconstructive manner and deny it and keep pushing it down further and further, and then it's only going to become more and more of a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't go away by stuffing it down. Like to suppress or repress something doesn't make it go away. And so that shadow work is basically taking all of that shame, guilt, and all those stories out into the light so you can own it and say, that is me. And you're like, no, I would never, because everyone's got secrets you don't want people to know, which is weird to me. But because if you knew the real me, then you wouldn't love me. You'd take your connection away, the relationship, and on a primitive biological level, you're taking away my survival. Because we're like community creatures. We're not solo. We're not individuals like your rhinos. You know what I mean? Like, we run in communities. That's where we thrive. And so if I tell you who I am and what I'm shameful of and I have guilt on, you'll leave. So I better just give you what I think you want me to be, that facade. It's a projection.
And then it kind of holds you accountable. It's like, now people know, I'm admitting it. Now I'm going to do something to change it.
Totally.
You can't have, we actually started the training this morning with that, right? We can't have change if we don't have awareness first. We did that in the context of business, but it plays right into the self.
Now, there's a lot of people that go through personal development, and they have a lot of awarenesses about, okay, where am I great and effective, and where do I really suck? Where am I insufficient? And so awareness is key, because with that information, you can change things. But awareness itself, that's step one. Now you've got to have a strategy, and you've got to have a process to catch yourself in that reactive pattern, that programming, so you can shift it. But just knowing where you can improve isn't enough. Having that level of self-awareness isn't enough, because you can't walk into Starbucks and be like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee with my new awareness today? It doesn't, you can't do anything with it.
For me, I like to self-reflect on, things going on in my mental state, because, entrepreneurial, it's always an up and down roller coaster.
You're an up and down roller coaster.
Yeah.
Definitely. And, but I when I decide hey, there's a problem, I identify it, it's okay, how can I change it? When I create my plan or my strategy to change it, it's always something that's going to be unreasonable, something that's always difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's stretching you, right? It's putting you outside of that comfort zone. Let me kind of break down this is how I see it, right? For the analytical mind, it's very important to understand how things happen. In the first place, to release, a lot of times there can be a sense of guilt in how we operate as human beings, right? Why am I like this? And the self-doubt, we don't even have to mention it, right? It's always there. Understand this: brains are developing, as children, but they're making synaptic connections and neurological connections, for the first 8 years. So a lot of that info that you were talking about earlier happens. A lot of that hard wiring happens during the first few years, right? That's really where the subconscious traits, start to take over. Subconscious responses on how we see the world, how we see relationships, how we see growth, how we see new environments, how risk averse are we, right? We start to adopt learned behaviors as we go through this process. So we get to this and we have all that stuff, right? That's kind of, getting boxed into our wiring. And then, something happens and you go out into the real world. Usually you graduate from college, you start to become independent, you start to have real challenges. Guess what bubbles up?
That voice in the back of your
The
head.
voice that programmed, that you programmed in there, through the first, 8 to 11, 12 years. So a lot of times it's not even our fault, it's just the environment that we were around at the beginning, right? And it's forcing us to see things one way because that's the survival mechanism that it gave us, right? So that's what happens at a biological level with the brain and context, right? Perception. Now, what do we do when we have that grip on things and you're like, shit, I know what triggers me. I know what what wires are crossing each other and sparking reactions within me, sparking action or anger, sparking self-doubt and that sort of thing. You start to take some of that control back, right? But up until that point, everything is subconscious. It's just coming from the learned behaviors that we started to collect, through the years that didn't bubble up until we were hit with adversity or a real need to, for survival. That's why you see people mature at 16 and some others don't mature until they're like ever 45, 50 or ever. You know what I mean? It's like how heavy is that need for survival, weighing on you, right? It's gonna be a trigger. So there's never I don't feel it's a sense of guilt or shame. It's just shit that happened to us as kids. Now we have the awareness and the power to come in and then turn that channel in.
So would you say it's kind of like I don't know, like maybe like psychological pattern that
100%.
continue to play on throughout your life? You just have to know how to.
It's a mental model, right? It's a construct.
Absolutely.
And that sets up a biased lens that determines what information you take in, what information isn't really happening that you distort to make it fit the belief, because you've got to be right about what you believe. I mean, think about it. If you go back 20,000 years, right, before we had language and all of that, like you had to be right about, can I eat those berries, or you're going to die. You know what I'm saying? So there's a primitive biological factor there. And I want to wrap something up because you said something and I shot back. So you don't know me, but just know like that wasn't a dig or a put down. It's just I'm just direct and honest as well.
Justin's an asshole.
No.
One of my favorite ones.
I didn't even take any offense.
Good. So I just want to address, because some people are very sensitive to that. And so if I didn't care, I wouldn't say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's your name?
Carson.
Carson, cool. So does anyone else identify with the roller coaster? Like sales are doing good and all of a sudden I got nothing and then I get to ramp back up and anybody? Yeah. Okay, a couple of people are like, yeah, me. Okay. And so I said, it's not a roller coaster, you are. Would you like to know more about that? Yeah. Okay, because if it's happening to you, you're a victim. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, very simply put.
He really wanted to use that whiteboard.
Well, yeah, I'm kinesthetic
He's
visual,
like, can we
man.
set up the blackboard?
So it helps me articulate.
Bro, wait, it's a mindset talk. Why do you need a blackboard?
Because.
Yes, just in case. Like, all right. Let the guy be. Let the guy be.
This is what we call the victim responsible scale. So everyone's somewhere in this, more victim, more responsible, and it just really comes down to a level of self-awareness. And so the thing about victim is like your conditions, circumstances, and your environment, when you're a victim, they control you. Does that make sense? So the roller coaster's happening to me. Well, victim, you're powerless. You have no ability to change something that's happening to you. I mean, think about it. So everyone in here is a real estate investor?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so when the market's really hot for investing, do all investors make money? No? Yes? You're not sure?
No.
Okay. So when the market sucks and everyone's losing their ass, does everybody lose money?
No.
Why?
Because there are more victims.
Well, yeah, some people understand, like, I create my own economy, regardless of what's going on externally. It's an energy. Think about it. Like, was anybody in the market around 2005 to 2008?
Yes.
What happened?
Went bottom out, went down.
Yeah.
A lot of people made money in that time. A lot of people got rich during that time, and a lot of people were losing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The average person over-leveraged, bought a lot, and then when the value just plummeted, like they lost everything. Everything. And how many entrepreneurs like committed suicide? And that's strange too, because they really just identified like these results are who I am. So now these are my identity, which is strange because they're the ones that created it. But anyways, back to victim. Over here, victim is powerless. And responsible is powerful, full of your own power, control over self. And so responsible people determine their circumstances, conditions, and environment. In fact, you create it. So, being a roller coaster, let's kind of break that down briefly. So somebody who wants to play, it's one person, your first hand up. Okay, so walk me through briefly, just kind of bullet points, like what do you experience in the ramping up and you're getting a lot of deals and you're making good money? How does that feel?
Energy, amped up, like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Do it.
I'm gonna go crush it, kill it, grind it out. Yeah, want more?
Tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take some more coffee, Red Bull, whatever, get it handled. Yeah?
No, I
Cool.
don't even need it. Yeah, I got all the energy
Yeah.
I need.
So explain to me then, like, if this is time and this is results, so you're going, you're ramping up, what happens here before there? What's that defining moment for you?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe my thermostat, where I have enough in the bank where I'm comfy.
Thank you. That's real. Yeah, complacency. Like the ego kicks in, look what I just did, don't you know who I am, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? Untouchable, yeah? Come on, not a lot of honest people in here. Thank you.
Let me throw something else in there. Self-sabotage. When we get to that space, and I don't want to throw a wrench in your
No, go for it.
in your flow, but when we get to that space where, oh shit, like everything is going well, right? But our subconscious mental model, right, it's just like a thermostat, for the AC unit. If it's set at 70 degrees, it's gonna kick in at 70 degrees. It's gonna reset to 70 degrees every single time, right? Now, and I say this because I've been in that space. Everything is going well, boom, 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 boom. And then I get to a point where I start to almost get nervous because that's going to require a higher version of me. I find a way to self-sabotage. Even if it doesn't, it's not like, thinking about it consciously, right? The subconscious behaviors start to trigger in. We get complacent. The coaching call is starting right now. So we get, like you said, we get complacent. You know what? I've been working a lot. I'm gonna take a few days off. I'm gonna disconnect. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do whatever. And there's nothing wrong with resetting, right? But a lot of times we'll use that as a self-sabotage tool, right? And what happens? We go back down. And the next thing you know, like, oh shit, I gotta build that thing up. And we feel more comfortable building it. We feel like we own it because we've already been through that journey, through that, hoop. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The ups and downs is really, that plays right into that pattern. Think back about, last 5 years. When have you and what have you done to self-sabotage your own results? I know I have a laundry list of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all do, yeah.
This is an incredible book. It's one of my top 5 all-time favorites. Psycho-Cybernetics, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon, world famous, like the best. And he stumbled across this concept on accident, actually. So again, the world's greatest plastic surgeon. And so people would come to him, either they had a deformity from birth or an accident, whatever the case was. And he would make them look pristine. And he noticed that there was only 2 types of clients. Ones that when they were fixed, modified, like they got their self-esteem back. They were confident and they went out there and created the life they desired. Then they had other ones that still saw themselves as defective and ugly and whatever the case was. So they would continue to hold back, but they looked perfectly fine because he's the best. And so what he stumbled across was the idea of the self-image. And it's a servo mechanism, like Rafa was saying, like a thermostat. It has a setting, 75 degrees. And the servo mechanism, what it does is it tracks any divergence from the setting. And if there's a divergence, it kicks it back on track to the setting. Yes? So your self-image is the same. Who you think you are, what you think you're capable of, what's too much.
What you're attaching your identity to.
Yeah. So that line is like the upper limit of what I think I'm worthy or capable of deserving of. And if you hit it, you have a problem. Because if you go past that, you don't know who you are. I mean, I'm breaking this down to very simplistic terms. But that's a problem, because if I become successful, well, who am I? I've never identified as that. I haven't mentally and emotionally rehearsed that so that it can fit. Now, let's say you don't hit your upper limit problem, and it's just an ego thing, right? Which, just so that we're using the same definitions, like ego is basically the unobserved part of your mind that's still running the show. It's that bundle of stories, beliefs that drives behavior effortlessly. So walk me through then. You get complacent, take your foot off the gas, and the next thing you know, like all your deals are closed, you cashed out, but now no new business coming in, and you're here. So what happens here for you?
For me, personally, I'll take a nap, I'll feel defeated, I'll avoid, think that there's all these problems that I need to figure out all at once, and it's just too much, and I'll take a nap, and I'll feel really tired and take a nap instead of grinding and taking action.
Yeah, like inspired action. Yeah, so you feel defeated. Which is strange, because what I hear you say is, my mind said, I can do it, I'm great, yada yada, if I just keep going and don't quit, I gotta win at some point.
I don't even need coffee.
Yeah, right? And you hit that pinnacle.
That's what you said.
Yeah, the peak.
Yeah.
And then there's a crash. But both were created because you were listening to your mind. Like, you know that voice inside? Does anyone not know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
If you said what voice, it's that one. You know? Like, you can tell it what to do, can't you? Like, inside your head, without saying anything, say hello to yourself. Now say goodbye.
That's crazy. No.
Who did that? No, I'm serious. That's not rhetorical. Like, huh?
We did it to ourselves.
You did? Yeah, what part are you? Like, who are you?
Ego.
You're the ego?
No.
Consciousness.
Uh-huh. On the right track, yeah.
My mind.
Well, I hope you're not.
We're also the observer.
Self-image.
Thank you, sir. Say it again.
You're
The observer.
The witness, the observer, subjective. You're the one in there noticing the mind. Your mind is like an appliance. It's like a toaster. You got to plug it in for it to work, yeah? But you tell it what to do. Now, not identifying with I'm the observer and thinking you are the mind, like you're in trouble. Because let me ask you a question. Has anybody in here ever been on a diet? Anybody?
Yeah.
Great, okay. So let me guess. Super consistent on your meal prep or what you were eating, staying away from the junk, and you make it a whole week, then 2, and you're like, yes, I'm so awesome. And then you're at a party, get together, or your honey brings home some dessert, and the mind says what?
You deserve it.
You deserve it, man. Look at all you went through for 2 weeks. I mean, you've been super disciplined. It's just one bite. It's not a big deal. And it goes on and on and on, yeah? And then so what do? Take a bite, and then another. And whether you stop there or you keep eating the whole damn dessert, then what does the mind say to you?
ELS.
Yeah, loser. What the hell, man? You just threw all that progress out the window. You always do this. That's the same mind that told you to eat it. It's psychotic, and you're listening to it, taking directions from it. Think about it. Like, how many of you, like in a relationship, super pissed off at this person, like I'm never going to talk to them again, I hate them, da-da-da. And the next thing they call and say these wonderful things, you're like, I love you. It's like, if you were to pay a coach that was so contradictory, that'd be weird. You'd fire that person immediately. And here you are listening. So what's your practice to remind yourself that I'm not that mind, it's something I have. Just like you're not your body, it's something you have. Like you don't say, hi, M hand. No, you're not, it's something you have. You can witness it. It's a simple case of like object, subject. Yeah? So don't want to get too lost in the weeds on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Another thing is that we evolve, right? We evolve as our consciousness evolves. As we, get into bigger challenges. Let's say that we keep going on that upward streak right there and then level up a little bit. You're going to have things that maybe a year ago were victories. And I think this is really important to recognize as entrepreneurs, right? Things that a year ago were victories now may seem like defeat or, oh, that sucked. We're growing into this higher version of ourselves. What happens? Our understanding of the self has to grow along with it, right? We are not, what we're doing, the framework's still the same. We're just throwing more meat on the bones per se, but we're not defined by that thing. And because we're not defined by that thing, or the situation or the achievement, it's easy to undermine it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'll go back to you because you volunteered. We were on a coaching call a couple of weeks back, and we always talk about deals closed and how many deals did you bring in and like who's winning and that sort of thing, right? And then he goes off talking about some stuff that he had on whiteboard, and like, I have 3 deals on whiteboard, and he was like being all gloomy about it, like, but have you closed on it? And I'm thinking like, shit, this guy hasn't done anything, and he's like, yeah, we closed on a deal yesterday. Like, what was that?
It's a small win.
It was only $7,500. Like, bro, pump your brakes. Like a year ago, 8 months ago, like you would have screamed, for that deal. You know what I mean? But it became the norm. So understand where you're at in that, in that part of the journey too, right? It comes back to self-awareness. Where are you at? And not because, something got, maybe you're just forgetting to look at the wins and stack those, because that's really what creates, from a pragmatic standpoint, that's what creates belief in the self, right? Understanding where are we winning every single day? Taking inventory of that kind of stuff. How are we, what are we doing that we didn't do yesterday? That's an improvement. It's version me 1072, whatever. You know what I mean?
What are some actionable steps or things that you can implement into your routine to practice self-awareness? Or what do you typically do?
You want to open that up?
Sure.
You just open up a can of worms.
We're about to go down a rabbit hole, and I still want to tie some loose ends too. So, have you ever heard about...
Here we go with the word again.
Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Circle of control, circle of influence. Yes?
Yes.
So what can you control?
Your emotions.
Your emotions?
There you go.
So more so my response to my emotions, right? Because typically we like to react. What else can you control?
Who you spend your time with?
Totally. Yeah. Who you surround yourself with matters. Yeah. What else? Your time. Your time. Say more.
Action.
I guess who you spend your time with.
Okay. Yeah. So and I saw time management up there. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Because let me ask you, can you manage time?
No.
What can you manage?
Yourself.
Yourself in the time you've allotted? Yeah, like time management. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But my point is this.
It was really bothering him.
It was. I had to say something. You can control the self. But you got to understand and not mislabel things, misidentification of it's happening to me. It's my mind, it's my body. Now, does your body have urges, impulses, desires? Let's say a couple months ago, it's cold out. I don't want to get up and go exercise. Yeah, my body doesn't feel like it. Yes?
Yes.
Can you control that?
Yeah.
Yeah, my response to it. That's under my control. Yes? Okay, so to be responsible then, which by the way, responsible, I don't say that word in the context of blame or fault. It's simply just take the word responsible, response, able to respond. I can respond to my reactions. I can respond to what's going on inside and dictate what happens next. Okay, so to be responsible then, what's your practice every single morning to set the tone for the day? Does anybody have one? You want to share it?
So I work out, and I leave the house at 7 to work out. I get back at 8:15, and I meditate for 10 minutes. I read for 10 minutes, and I journal for 10 minutes.
Awesome. Now, every body is a little different. However, I would suggest you play with that syntax, that sequence, a little bit. So, case in point, like I believe gratitude is the #1 thing to do every single morning, every damn day. In fact, you start with, as soon as you like become conscious in the morning, you're awake, but you haven't even got out of bed yet, maybe you haven't even opened your eyes. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, so typically what you do is you grab your damn phone. Don't do that. Before you even get out of bed, why don't you just set an intention? Like, who do I desire to be today? How do I want to think? How do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? How do I desire to be? You're like, what the hell's be? Because we're called human beings, not human doings. So how do you want to be? What's that state of being you want to take throughout your day? Oh, present, connected, calm, peaceful, joyful, enthusiastic. Would that be supportive? So you got to set the intention. Like, it's not just going to happen to you.
When you're thinking about that kind of stuff, I mean, I would carry this thing everywhere I go. Everywhere. I have a notebook. I mean, I'm big on apps and all that stuff, but there's some magic to paper and pencil, right? It forces you to slow down and actually think about what you're writing down. It forces you to write down something that's making sense in the notebook, right? But when you're thinking about your sense of being, for example, I mean, make that into a practice, a daily practice. If you're taking the time to be grateful, I mean, write it down. I mean, it kind of really don't rush through that process. I mean, it's really tapping into your creative side and your creative self, right? To think about, who am I grateful for? What conversations am I thankful to even have around me? What relationships, and not just business-wise, right? But what grew me or had me improve upon myself as a human being. I mean, it can be a dog the day before that was just super happy, and it lit you up for a second or two. Those little things, when we start paying attention to the small things in life, and they become beautiful, everything else becomes a lot easier to appreciate. The wins, like when they say the beauty's in the little things, I really feel like that's what it means. The beauty is in the little things. The beauty is in walking out is like a breeze of fresh air, stuff like that. It may sound I don't know, like silly, to bring it up that way, but really, like, think about it for a second. If you can find joy in that kind of stuff, what wouldn't you find joy in? Wouldn't a win feel a million times bigger because you understand how to tap into that sense of joy, how to tap into those those little things that make a big difference, and we get those 1,000 times a day, right? We get the little wins 1,000 times and we just ignore them. Boom, 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 boom. Make it a practice, right? Roll it into it. Write it down.
So number 2 is gratitude. It's like, can you write down 10 things you're grateful for? Now, I've learned this from a coach with Bob Proctor before he passed. And does anyone know who Bob Proctor is? Yeah. Interesting dude. So he taught me this. And how he said to do it was write down 5 things you're grateful for that currently exist. So someone give me an example. What could you be grateful for? That
My health.
Your health, your house. Okay. What else? Family.
Bed to sleep in.
A bed to sleep in. Yeah.
Clothes on wearing.
Mastermind.
Sorry? Mastermind, what was it before?
Being here, yeah.
Being
Clothes
here.
I'm wearing.
Clothes you're wearing? Okay, cool. What else?
Progress in life.
Progress? Yeah.
Tacos.
Tacos, like, hello.
The little things, bro.
So, there was a group of us, and he had a challenge. It was a 90-day gratitude challenge. So the task was, every single day, write out what you're grateful for. And then in 90 days, we're going to meet again and see how you did. So we came back, and he's like, okay, if you completed every single day of gratitude, all 90 days, stand up. And I was like, me? And they're like, excellent, yeah, wonderful, okay. Now, if you didn't put you as an item that you're grateful for on the list, sit down. I was like, motherfucker, didn't. Those were part of the instructions. So every single morning, you've got to be number 1. Think about it. Yeah. You're the source of everything you have in your reality, if you're responsible. Now, to some people, they want to push that away because that's uncomfortable, doesn't fit, or they just don't want to believe it. But that's really funny to me because I coach a tremendous amount of entrepreneurs, and inevitably, Most people want a significant amount of money in the savings account. Yeah? Not bad, not wrong, but why?
Security. Way to make you feel.
Security. I'm going to feel safe. Yeah? So let me ask you a question. You pull that money out to invest it and you lose your ass. Now how do you feel? Down, loser, not secure. But let me ask you a question. Who created the money? So why are you putting your security in something external when you're the one that's the creator? Okay. So you're number one. Now when you write out gratitude, it would sound something like, I am so happy and grateful that, or now that, or for. So my number one, I'm so happy and grateful for my amazing self. I love me completely just the way I am with no improvement required. I am deserving. I am worthy. I am enough. Like whatever yours is. But you might want to be grateful for you, the one, the creator, the observer. Yeah?
Before you move on to the next one, I want to make a note on that. There's one thing that I do, and you guys have seen me do it 1,000 times on the coaching calls. I was like, yeah, I'm badass. I came up with this great thing, and it's amazing, and it sounds boastful, right? But that's a conversation that I would absolutely not, or a comment that I would have absolutely not made 5 years ago. And I do it intentionally because I want that to feel normal for me. And it's a show of self-love. It's not arrogance. It's not that I'm the smartest person in the universe. It's not that. But it's giving myself credit for the effort, right? And to me, it was really hard to just say that I had something good to offer. Even say it. I mean, maybe I thought it like, yeah, this is really good, but I wouldn't verbalize it. And I started asking myself the question, okay, like, what does that mean in terms of self-love? You know, is that a limiting thing? Like, is it crazy? And I turn it into this conversation. It's funny now when I bring it up, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get all super happy and happy about my own, little wins, but I celebrate them. It's like my way of celebrating myself, yeah, and putting myself at the top of that list, right? So whatever your wins are, celebrate them. And I mean, shit, if you got to talk about them, right? If that's the thing. If you have a challenge, bringing up the good or giving yourself credit for stuff when you know that it's there, when you know you're making an impact, when you know that, okay, cool, I got this, verbalize it. Take it from that uncomfortable side to that comfortable side. Make it a normal thing because that is self-love. Right? It's not arrogance. It's not coming from a space of narcissism or anything. It's just self-love and self-acknowledgement. That's why I do it on the coaching calls.
So I think the meat and potatoes when it comes to gratitude, yeah, I'll do my best to enroll you to start today. And here's why. So again, you're writing out 10 things that you're grateful for, 5 that exist and 5 that don't. But the ones that don't exist, you're writing out as if they do. So we talked about the self-image and its driving behavior. Yeah? And that self-image, like you cannot have a result that doesn't fit the self-image. It can only be in alignment. So if you take a look at all the results in your life, whether it's your bank account, your health, your relationships, you name it, you have that result because you have a story about you that fits that result. So if you want bigger, better results, you got to create a new story. And you think that's going to be easy? It's simple, but it's not easy. The model is simple, the path, the how-to is, but the actual practice and the action is not, because it doesn't fit. So if you want to shift the self-image, this is how you do it, and I'll explain. And I hope if you get nothing else out of today, out of all his great content, I hope it's at least this one thing, and I'll explain. When you write out something as if it currently exists, and you're in a state of gratitude for it, what you're saying is, emotionally, thank you for receiving it, which is a contradiction because you know you don't have it. So it feels like a lie, yeah? Think about it. So does anyone have a really big goal in business, like how much you want to earn net cash in pocket? Anybody?
$1 million this year.
$1 million, okay. I could dive deep on that and ask why, but let's say $1 million. Okay. Have you ever earned $1 million before doing this? Okay. Do you mind if I ask you a personal question? What's the max you've earned so far?
Like
250. Okay. So if I've never earned $1 million before, especially in this endeavor, does that result truly, emotionally, fit how I feel about myself? Like capable, worthy, deserving?
No.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Now, if you want that result, you're going to have to start, like this is a requirement, there's no other way, mentally and emotionally rehearsing that future success as if it's happened. You got to retrain, you got to reprogram, reframe all that's going on. So when you write out the gratitude of, I am so happy and grateful now that I earned $1 million through real estate, wholesaling, investing, whatever, like write that out and see how you feel. You're like, fucking liar. But keep doing it every damn day. Now, you take that into your meditation, because meditation really just means to like become aware of. Like, do you know your habitual, redundant thought and feeling patterns, your state? Because if you're not aware of that, so to become aware of that and to start believing that it's true, because then it'll start driving new behaviors in alignment with the result. Not only that, but you sit down in meditation and you quiet that mind, that inner roommate that just like constantly talks. Anybody else experience that? Yeah? Okay. So, you quiet the mind. Now you can open up and you can use your imagination to create that future event. You can like actually experience it in your imagination. Did you know that? Do you know how I know that you know that? How?
Repeat it to yourself? Or giving gratitude?
Have you ever had like a true nightmare? Like you woke up and you're scared as shit? Yeah? Crying or whatever? Yes?
Yes.
Did you experience that?
Yes.
No. It didn't actually happen. Your mind made it up. And you had a biological reaction to it. For the sake of time, I won't, but I could walk you through a very short exercise. And if you're really connecting to it because you want to have a new experience of yourself, you will have a biological reaction. Do it. But it was only in your imagination. Do it. You didn't actually. Do it. Does anybody want to do it? It's not like. Okay, all right.
Such a stupid question. Would you, if
Well, I don't know, man. I'm trying to be sensitive.
Could I interest you in an exercise that will change your life forever?
I could keep talking for 10 hours.
For the good. For the
Okay.
good.
So, if you want to participate, you don't have to. Here's what I'd like you to do. Just uncross your legs. Just sit normal with your hands in your lap. Hands in your lap. Yeah? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And don't worry. Like, no one's going to come around and mess with you. You're safe. Okay. So, with your eyes closed, just take a deep breath in. And let it out. And one more. Okay, now, keeping your eyes closed, I want you to imagine you're in your kitchen at home. And you're standing in front of your refrigerator. You can notice what color it is. What's the style? Is it a top and bottom, side by side? Now, take your non-dominant hand, reach out and grab the refrigerator door and open it. Reach your other hand inside, and right at eye level on a shelf, there's a big, bright yellow lemon. So grab the lemon and take it out, and close the refrigerator door. Now, walk over to that space in your kitchen where you have your knives. Set the lemon down on the counter. Use your dominant hand to grab a knife. And you're going to cut the lemon in half, but before you do, it doesn't matter which direction in half. So as you start to cut the lemon, can you feel the blade rubbing through the rind? All the way down until it's cut in half. Set the knife down. Pick up 1/2 of the lemon and pull it up so you can see the inside of it. You notice like those little veins, maybe there's some seeds. Now, put the lemon up to your nose and take a big whiff. And pull it back. Again, notice the inside of the lemon that you've cut open. Now take it to your mouth and use your 2 front teeth and scrape out a big old bite of that pulp. Okay, now open your eyes. Did anyone experience anything?
Yeah.
What?
Salvation.
Salivating? Yeah? Who else?
I tasted the lemon.
Tasted the lemon?
Sort of.
Who else? Did anyone else salivate?
My mouth like
I did.
puckered.
Mouth puckered?
Yep.
How'd that happen? You didn't actually have a lemon.
Visualization is deep, man.
So, if you really practice that and like increase that faculty, you can make a thought more real than an experience. So that's how you mentally, emotionally rehearse a thing. Like if you don't go there in the mind and the body, how are you ever going to go there in your reality? And so, if you were to sit down, what was your name?
Taylor.
Taylor. And you were to experience with practice, like you're not going to sit down today when you go home and nail it. I mean, if you do, like I want to talk to you. But let's say like, it's going to take some repetition. And you have to love yourself enough to invest the time and the energy to do that. But you can budget out that time, that sacred time and space, first thing in the morning before you even take a shower, right? Like I can't think of anything that's more important than this. So you can imagine yourself, like you see the bank statement, you're on your phone, wherever you bank the most, and you pull up your account and you see that $1 million. You're like, fuck, it happened. I did it. And when you connect to that experience with your imagination, as if you're actually experiencing it, you let me know what happens. You'll probably cry. Seriously. You'll have a biological reaction. That's how you know you've connected to it. Now, the power in that is, again, the self-image is shifting because now it believes that it actually happened. Now, when you get dressed and you walk out the front door, how are you going, what's your state of being going to be? Confident? Successful? Yeah? You're going to walk through your day like that. And do you think some synchronicities and serendipities may unfold and things come to you in such a way that actually makes that event happen in the moment?
Absolutely.
Now, here's the real kicker. When it does come to be made manifest, you won't be overjoyed. Why would you? You've already experienced it hundreds of times in your mind. And you're like, well, then what's the point? Because now you have an experience that you are, in fact, a conscious creator of your reality. You got to think of it like how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. We call that your personality. Yeah? So here's the mantra. Your personality is creating, moment by moment, your personal reality. And it could be no other way. So as you're writing out the gratitude, and listen, well, you know, when I learned this, at the time, I was 243 pounds. I'd always been heavy my entire life, always. And Bob told me to write out what I wanted. So I was like, this is bullshit. This isn't going to work. How woo-woo is this, man? So I said, okay, fine. If it works, then I'm so happy and grateful now that I weigh 200 pounds. I don't know what that would look like. And I wrote that out every single day for 90 days. And for 90 days, I'm like, this is dumb. This is bullshit. I don't know why I'm doing this. But then one day it hit me, like, wait a minute. Bobby's making 100 mil a year. I'm not. What makes me so self-righteous that I'm going to fight to be right about this? Why don't I just borrow the man's belief? Because my shit ain't working. Based on results. Yeah? So I started connecting with it. I started visualizing it. And I was like, screw it. If it works, why not go below 200? Let's do 199. Now, I didn't know what that would look like and feel like. And within 6 months, closer to 7, I dropped 63 pounds with no like starving, no busting my ass at the gym, no nothing. Changing the self-image. Honoring the food that I put in my body. Because high vibration food's in, high vibration out. You know what I mean? Like you eat a burger or pizza at lunch, how you feeling? Ready to go execute scary things? Or I'm gonna take a nap. You know what I mean? Like execution takes energy. So what kind of food are you eating to honor yourself, to get energy, so you can make it through the day and be proud of yourself? Like, I got everything done today. that was a priority. So shifting the way I thought and felt about myself changed how I ate. I actually started doing movement. I don't call it exercise or working out. That sounds terrible. I don't like that. Movement. Just move your body. Wake it up. Yeah? So I taught this to a lady that came to my Empowered Agent class. It's a free 3-hour thing that I do for realtors. And she called me up one day, probably 6 months after she attended the class. And she's like, hey, I want to hire you as a coach, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, why? She goes, that class you taught when you talked about gratitude, my husband and I have been trying to have a baby for 2 years. In vitro, all kinds of things. They spent so much money trying to get pregnant. Nothing happened. She's like, I took that and I wrote it out every single morning. I'm so happy and grateful for my new healthy baby boy.
So what you're saying is that you got her pregnant?
Yeah. No. In 90 days, she was pregnant without artificial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now she's got another child. They told her that it wasn't going to happen. I did this with starting my brokerage. I had no fucking clue how to start a brokerage. Like, I don't know where to begin. And my deep-rooted limiting belief is I'm not smart enough, which is great because it gets me into action. So, all my businesses were started this way. My fiance, you name it, everything I've created comes through gratitude and then backing that up with some visualization. So I've got story after story. In fact, here's another one. A lady that worked with me for many years, realtor, taught her the gratitude, and she wanted a boob job. Okay? But she wasn't very specific. She just said, I want new breasts. And how she was operating in her life, her personality, very chaotic, very stressful, she developed breast cancer, and she got a boob job. So like, I don't care if you put positive energy or negative energy. Wherever you invest your attention is where you're placing your energy. Because you, the observer, is the energy. So what you pay attention to, that energy goes at. And energy flows where attention goes. And where you place your energy, your attention, it must begin to grow, expand, and multiply. Like if you're investing and you think, oh man, I hope I don't lose money on this deal, and now it becomes consuming, you know what's going to happen. You're going to lose your ass. And then you go victim to, oh, it was the market, it was the neighbor. So weird. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. The object of your attention is what's going to grow. So gratitude, and then roll that into meditation. Again, if you've never meditated before, anyone not meditated or not really confident? You're all avid meditators? Hello?
Not confident.
I'm sorry?
Not confident.
Not confident, okay. So I learned about meditation actually from an app called Headspace. Now it's on Netflix, and there's a couple different segments. There's like a beginner's guide. He walks you through it. Like you can educate yourself. YouTube is your friend, and find what resonates for you. But for the love of God, quiet that roommate at the beginning of the day. Otherwise, it's running the show.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so when you quiet the mind and it's no longer there, you can really open up your imagination and connect to that future experience as if it's actually happening.
Think, I mean, that's all great stuff, so many things to unpack there. Think about, before we start closing off, but think about when you wake up in the morning, right, information is being thrown at you. Most of our day is spent it's spent synthesizing info as opposed to creating, right, creating thoughts, original thoughts. A lot of people miss out on the awareness of that. They go their entire lives without creating original thoughts. Why? Because everything that we're exposed to is giving us information, right? From the morning, from the minute we wake up, we pick up the phone, we're seeing information on IG. Now that's giving us a thought. We walk into, I don't know, throw our headphones on and we listen to the book. That's giving us a thought, right? Maybe a good thought, but it's still giving us a thought. It's nothing being created from within. Now give yourself, or ask yourself, how many original thoughts do you actually create that are not linked to something that you picked up from outside of you, right? We have conversations, we go to work, we have more information being thrown at us. We're on the streets, we're driving, we have traffic laws and all that stuff, information being thrown at us. Meditation is the gap. It's the ability to create a little bit of cushion right there for ourselves to be ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that's when you sit. That's when you sit down, and there's still going to be stuff that's kind of cycling, and that's why I like to do it the first thing in the morning when I wake up. It's mind is fresh. I mean, I may have some thoughts about the dream itself and whatnot, but then I can steer. It's a lot easier for me to steer it in the mornings as opposed to middle of the day or in the afternoon when I already have all this information kind of simmering in my head. Does that make sense? But that's what meditation is. It's that space for ourselves where we take control of that thinking train. Your brain has one thought at a time. You can't think about two things at once. And multitasking is a complete fallacy. What you're doing is you're switching from channels on the TV. If you're multitasking, you're going from CNN to National Geographic and back and forth. Like that's what's happening, right? But there's only one thought in your mind at any point in time, and the ability to create a gap, right? And then just create conscious awareness in our own little selves comes with meditation. Why? Because it's that space. That's all it is. You're turning the TV off and then you're just sitting there for a second.
So
keep that in mind.
I'm going to quickly go through real fast to wrap this up because I know we're running out of time. I go and do some movement, and I don't care if it's 7 minutes. You don't have to go to the gym. You could, but some people are like, I don't have time. Great. And then you ask, what do you do in 7 minutes? That's so great. I don't care if you throw yourself on the floor and flail around like a 5-year-old. It doesn't matter. Just move your body. You're waking it up. Yeah? And then my favorite, cold plunge, ice bath. Anybody do that?
I still think that's for crazy people.
Yeah. So check it out. Here's the 2 reasons why I do it.
Yeah.
And pretty soon your body craves it, doesn't it? Yeah. You're like, I don't want to do it today. And you're like, no, fuck, you're going. Here's the reason that I do it. Like, the ability to give yourself a command and follow it is everything. It is. Because how many times you tell yourself to do something, you get up in the morning like, I'm going to make that call, I'm going to get this deal, and then you don't. And now how do you feel about you? You don't trust you? Yeah? You don't trust the word you hold yourself. And if you don't trust you, you're not going to trust anybody else. So, the ability to strengthen that faculty of give myself a command and follow it. Get in. Don't stop and think about it, just go. The other benefit that's just as equally as important, I think, is how many times a day, like, do you have expectations of how things should go, and that doesn't happen. In fact, the opposite does. You're triggered, you're activated, you're pissed, and you react. Anybody?
Yeah.
A couple of you? Okay. So, you think when you get into freezing cold water, you want to react? Obviously, like the mind and the body are freaking out, bells and alarms are going off, like get out. Yes? Good. That's where you can practice being the observer, the witness. I'm not my mind telling me to get out. I'm not my body that's freaking out. I'm in control of this. I'm going to direct my mind and body. So I'm not getting out until it calms down, until my breath is under control, until I'm there, present with self. Now when I'm good to go, I'm free to get out. So you're setting a tone for the day. It doesn't matter what my mind or body does that wants to get activated. I'm going to be aware, and I'm going to direct it instead of always reacting to it. If you're a hostage of your mind and body, I'm concerned for you. So what's your practice? To remind yourself of who you are. Are you the witness, or are you the hostage? Yeah? So, morning practice to start becoming more self-aware, and watch just how fast you gain momentum with this. I think that's all I got
100%.
on that. I mean, with the time that we have allotted.
Oh, yeah, we can go for days.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, that's a very solid, right? If you're talking about awareness and being, getting collective within yourself, it's a very solid routine. I don't care, Justin, if you're half the man you used to be. I still think you have a lot of role to give to the world.
Thank you, appreciate that. So when I suggested changing the order of things, the reason you want to do meditation early on is because when you sleep in your delta brainwave patterns, and you go up, theta, alpha, beta, beta is your normal waking hours. And in fact, most people are running in high beta brainwaves. It's incoherent. It's chaos.
It's tougher to concentrate, really, I mean, what it does when you're at that space.
Well, it just makes it that much more challenging to quiet the mind and get it to calm down.
Right.
So there's 2 times when you can open up your imagination the most with the least amount of effort. It's first thing in the morning and right before bed. So if you love yourself, maybe you do it twice a day.
There's a really good strategy before we close it off. But there's a really good book, actually, the Silver Mind Control Method. Anybody read that? I know, yeah. Silver Mind Control Method, chapters 3 and 4. I think that's where the meat and the potatoes of that book are.
Very simple process.
Very simple process, but it's a really easy way to get out of that chaotic mindset. I mean, I do that on a regular basis, just to get grounded and get centered.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to just preface meditation with one thing. If you're sitting down and you're noticing thoughts and you're not getting involved with it, but you are wondering that one question you ask yourself, am I doing it right? Listen, if you're investing the time to just sit down and give it a shot, you're winning. There's no right or wrong. There's like infinite ways to meditate, and all paths lead to home.
There's
Just
really
start.
cool downloads that happen when you're when you're meditating. You hit, you ask yourself, like, where did that thought come from? Solutions. I mean, it's creative thinking at its finest. It really is.
Well, if you think about, like, you know, Albert Einstein, yeah, like one of the greatest physicists ever to live. And how about Thomas Edison? A lot of patents, huge inventor. Both of those men sat down several times a day to quiet the mind, open up. They go into what they call their workshop to just relax the mind so they can receive information, which led them to all of these things. So there's plenty of science behind it. But
Awesome.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
You were talking about all those thoughts around the day, yeah? Did you know you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day?
It's a long train.
And 90% of them are the same as yesterday. That doesn't leave a lot of new information coming in. Meditation is the opportunity to quiet the mind and then using your imagination to like articulate and define who you desire to be, what you want to accomplish. Because if you're not defining yourself, you know, elevating you by a vision of your future, you're going to be left with memories of the past. And so waking up in the morning, picking up the phone, checking Facebook, Instagram, all of that, you're just reminding yourself of yesterday and expecting something different to happen today. But you haven't changed anything about you. So to think new thoughts and get new information, like, you're going to have to be different. And you get to do this. You don't have to. You get to.
Is that helpful? Does that land?
Yeah.
All right, beautiful.
Fancy little pin.
Justin, I'm happy to say, and honored to say, he's actually one of my best friends. Imagine how conversations get when we're drinking. I mean, it's just like, woo!
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Or out into outer space. But yeah, man. So Justin Thorstad, if you're not, actually follow him on social. We do a Mindset Monday podcast every Monday. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we break down. And again, it's being real with what's going on at any point in time with ourselves, right? Like, that's the big thing about it. It's coming to awareness. I keep saying it on the podcast, is that I love doing Mindset Mondays because it's like a reality check. First thing in the week. And it really sets the tone for everything else. So it's become a ritual at this point. Where can somebody find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, JustinThorstad.com. I think I have a board here.
I mean,
yeah,
might as well.
My cell. Text me, call me, email me. So all my information is online. You can just Google it. Let me know how I can support you.
Awesome. Any questions before we close it off? Yes, sir.
Do you receive an influx of calls every Monday after you give out your number?
No. You know, almost a year now we've been doing this.
One?
So, you know, I know we got to wrap it up, but
People don't use the phones. I mean, shit, how often do you guys call me? You guys have my cell phone.
I text you as often.
so, like,
I think you're the only one.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that already today, Rat's given you a lot of like action steps to do, like a roadmap to success in wholesaling investing. Yes? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Because if not, you let me know. Okay, so he's given you a strategy. Yet, does that mean that every single one of you are going to actually adopt it, to implement it, and be successful with it? No. Why? When that's what's available. Like, check in with, it's me. And thank God for that. And what am I going to do with this? And what part of me is holding me back? And so if you find yourself stuck, like who's in your tribe, who's in your circle that's going to pull you out and be like, step one, extract head from ass. Step two, what's your problem? Like, let's go.
Right.
And so if you have this number, like, and I offer that to my private clients as well. Like in between our sessions, you're stuck, call me. You don't.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
Yeah, we're not in it by ourselves. Like we never are. Like nobody can say they're a self-made, success.
No.
There's always influences outside of us, whether we like to admit it or not, right? Good ones and bad ones, but they all have an impact. So yeah, with that being said, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys. Was that good? Was that good? Give it up for Justin. Thank you, bro.